The morning started like any other perfect day at the beach. Jennifer stood on the old wooden dock, her bare feet feeling the warmth of the sun-bleached planks beneath her. She was watching her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, running along the shoreline. The little girl was laughing, her arms spread wide like wings as she chased the seagulls that scattered with every step she took. It was their last morning in Coral Bay. After 2 weeks of building sandcastles, collecting shells, and eating too much ice cream, they were supposed to pack up and drive back to the city, back to normal life, back to work and school and the busy routine that never seemed to slow down. But right now, in this moment, everything felt peaceful, the kind of peaceful that makes you wish time could stop. Jennifer's husband, Michael, had woken up before dawn. He'd kissed her forehead in the dark and whispered that he was taking the boat out to catch the sunrise. It was something he did every year when they visited this small coastal town where Jennifer had grown up. Michael loved photography, and there was something about the way the morning light hit the water here that he said he couldn't find anywhere else. She could see him now, just past where the waves were breaking. His grandfather's old fishing boat bobbed gently on the water. It wasn't much to look at, that boat. The paint was peeling and the engine made strange noises, but it had been in the family for 40 years. Michael loved it almost as much as he loved his camera. The sky was doing that thing it does right after sunrise, when it can't decide if it wants to be pink or orange or gold, so it becomes all three at once. Jennifer pulled her cardigan tighter around her shoulders. Even in summer, the ocean breeze had a chill to it this early in the morning. "Mom, look." Lily was holding up something in her hand, probably another shell for her collection. The girl had found so many shells during this trip that Jennifer had no idea how they were going to fit them all in the car. Jennifer waved back, smiling. She glanced out at Michael again. He was standing in the boat now, his camera raised to his face. She knew that stance. He could stay frozen like that for 20 minutes, waiting for the perfect shot, the perfect angle, the perfect moment when everything aligned just right. The ocean was unusually calm. Like glass, her father used to say. On mornings like this, when the water was so still and quiet, it was hard to remember that the ocean was wild. That beneath that peaceful surface there was something vast and powerful and completely beyond human control. Jennifer checked her watch. They should start packing soon if they wanted to beat the traffic. But she decided to give Michael another half hour with his photos. He'd been so happy this whole trip, more relaxed than she'd seen him in months. His job in the city was stressful. Long hours, difficult bosses, the kind of work that left him exhausted every night. This vacation had been good for him. Good for all of them. That's when she noticed it. At first, she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. But no, the water was moving differently now. There was a swell building far out where Michael was. It didn't look like the normal waves. It was bigger. Much bigger. "Michael." She shouted his name, but he was too far away to hear her. The wind carried her voice in the wrong direction. The waves seemed to come from nowhere. One moment, the ocean was calm. The next, there was this wall of water rising up like something out of a movie. Jennifer's heart stopped. She started running down the dock, screaming Michael's name over and over. She saw him turn. Saw him lower his camera. Saw him see the wave. The wall of water hit the small boat like a giant's fist. The boat didn't just tip over. It was swallowed. 1 second it was there, and the next second there was just churning white water and pieces of wood floating in the foam. Jennifer was screaming. She didn't realize she was screaming until her throat started to hurt. Other people were running now too. She heard shouts behind her. Someone grabbed her arm, but she shook them off. She wanted to jump in, to swim out there, but hands held her back. "Let me go." "That's my husband." "Michael." The local fishermen were already running for their boats. Engines roared to life. Within minutes, there were 5 boats racing toward the spot where Michael had been. Jennifer stood on the dock, shaking, her hands pressed against her mouth. Lily was beside her now, crying, not understanding what was happening but knowing something terrible had occurred. The boats circled the area. Jennifer watched them, her whole body trembling. She saw them pulling pieces of the boat from the water. She saw someone hold up a life jacket. It was torn, ripped nearly in half. But no Michael. They kept searching. The Coast Guard arrived within an hour, their boat much bigger and faster. They had equipment, sonar, divers. They searched in patterns, organized and thorough. Jennifer refused to leave the dock. Someone brought her a blanket. Someone else brought her water. Her sister arrived and took Lily home, but Jennifer wouldn't move. She stood there all day watching the boats go back and forth, back and forth. When the sun started to set, the same sky that had been so beautiful that morning now looked cruel. The Coast Guard captain came to talk to her. He was kind but honest. The rogue wave had come from deep water. The currents were strong. They would keep searching, but she needed to understand that after this many hours the chances were. She didn't let him finish. She couldn't hear those words. They searched for 3 days. 3 days of boats and helicopters and divers, and hope that got smaller with each passing hour. They found more pieces of the boat. They found one of Michael's shoes. They found his camera case, but it was empty, the straps torn away. But they never found Michael. On the 4th day, they called off the search. The ocean had taken him, they said. The current had carried him out too far. There was nothing more they could do. They were sorry. So very sorry. Jennifer made a decision that day that everyone thought was crazy. She told her sister to pack up their things from the vacation rental. She called her boss in the city and quit her job. She enrolled Lily in the local school. They weren't leaving Coral Bay. If the ocean had taken Michael, she would wait right here. She would wait by its shores every single day. She would walk the beaches and watch the tides and learn everything there was to know about how the water moved. Because somewhere deep in her heart, in a place that logic couldn't reach, she believed the ocean would give him back. Maybe not all of him. Maybe just answers. Maybe just the truth about what happened in those final moments. But she would wait. However long it took, she would wait. The people in Coral Bay didn't understand. At first, they tried to be kind. They brought food to Jennifer's door, casseroles and pies and containers of soup that she barely touched. They told her they were praying for her. They said time would heal the pain. They meant well, but their words felt hollow. After the first month, some of them suggested she should think about moving back to the city. For Lily's sake, they said. The girl needs stability. She needs to be around family. But Jennifer's family was here now. Her sister visited often, but Jennifer had made up her mind. This was home. This was where she needed to be. Every morning before the sun came up, Jennifer walked the beach. The same 5-mile stretch from the rocky point on the north end to the old lighthouse on the south. She walked it so many times that she knew every rock, every tide pool, every place where driftwood collected. She was looking for something. Anything. A piece of the boat. Another shoe. His watch. His wedding ring. Anything that would wash up and tell her more about what happened that day. The local fishermen started to avoid eye contact with her. She knew what they thought. The widow who couldn't let go. The woman who'd lost her mind along with her husband. Sometimes she heard their whispers when she passed by the docks. Poor thing, they'd say. She's out there every single day. Rain or shine. It's not healthy. But Jennifer didn't care what they thought. She had a system now. She carried a notebook and a camera. Every piece of debris she found, she photographed and documented. Where it was, what time, what the tide was doing. She started learning about ocean currents. She spent hours at the library reading books about how water moved, how objects traveled through the sea. The librarian, Mrs. Chen, was one of the few people who didn't look at her with pity. She helped Jennifer find the books she needed. Maps of the coastal currents, studies about rogue waves, reports from the Coast Guard about search and rescue operations. "You're looking for patterns," Mrs. Chen said one afternoon. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Jennifer replied. "The ocean has rules. It's not random. Things go in, things come out. They just have to know where to look." Mrs. Chen nodded slowly. She didn't say whether she thought Jennifer was right or wrong. She just kept helping her find more books. Lily struggled at first. The kids at her new school didn't know what to say to the girl whose father had drowned. They treated her like she was fragile, like she might break if they talked too loud. Lily hated it. She was only 8, but she was learning fast that tragedy made people uncomfortable. At home, the roles started to shift. Jennifer was so focused on her searches, on her notebooks, and her theories about tides and currents that she sometimes forgot about the normal things. Lily learned to make her own breakfast. She learned to pack her own lunch. She set alarms to remind her mother to eat dinner. By the time Lily turned 10, she was doing most of the grocery shopping. Jennifer would give her money and a list, and Lily would ride her bike to the store. The cashiers knew her. They'd help her reach things on high shelves and make sure she got home safely. "Is your mom feeling okay?" They'd ask sometimes. "She's fine," Lily would say. "She's just busy." The truth was more complicated. Jennifer wasn't sick exactly. She was present but absent at the same time. She made sure Lily had what she needed. She signed permission slips and showed up to parent-teacher conferences. But there was always this look in her eyes like part of her was somewhere else, out on the water. Lost in the waves, years passed. The seasons changed. Summer tourists came and went. Lily grew taller. She learned to cook real meals because someone had to. She learned to forge her mother's signature on forms when Jennifer forgot. She became responsible in ways that kids her age shouldn't have to be. When Lily turned 13, she tried talking to her mother about it. Really talking. "Mom, it's been 5 years," she said one night at dinner. "Dad's not coming back." Jennifer looked up from her notebook where she'd been marking tide tables. "I know that, honey. Do you? Because you're still out there every morning looking for him. I'm not looking for him. I'm looking for answers. What's the difference?" Jennifer didn't have a good response to that. She closed her notebook and reached across the table to take Lily's hand. "I know this hasn't been easy for you. I know I haven't been the mother you deserve. I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "I just need to understand what happened.
I need to know how he died."
The not knowing, it's eating me alive." Lily squeezed her mother's hand. She wanted to say that it was eating them both alive, just in different ways. But she was 13, and she didn't have the words for that yet. The whispers in town got worse over the years. People stopped bringing food. They stopped asking how Jennifer was doing. She became that woman, the one who walked the beach at dawn like a ghost, the one whose grief had turned into something else, something obsessive and strange. Some people thought she was waiting for Michael's body to wash up. Others thought she'd actually lost touch with reality. There were rumors that she talked to the ocean, that she stood at the water's edge and had conversations with the waves. Those rumors were partly true. Jennifer did talk to the water sometimes, not because she thought it would answer back, but because she needed to say things out loud. She needed to tell Michael about Lily, about how their daughter was growing up strong and smart. She needed to tell him that she was sorry she couldn't save him, that she was sorry she was failing Lily now. By the time Lily turned 16, she'd become more like a parent than a child. She worked a part-time job at the ice cream shop in the summer. She paid some of the bills because Jennifer's savings were running low. She made sure they didn't lose the small house they rented near the beach. "Mom, we need to talk about practical things," Lily said one evening. "I'm applying to colleges next year. We need to think about how we're going to afford it." "You'll get scholarships," Jennifer said. "You're so smart." "That's not a plan, Mom, that's a hope." Jennifer nodded. She knew Lily was right. She knew she needed to be more present, more practical. But every time she tried to focus on the future, her mind pulled her back to that morning 11 years ago, to the question that still haunted her every single day. What happened to Michael in those final moments? Did he suffer? Was he afraid? Did he think of them? The not knowing was a weight she carried everywhere. It was heavier than grief. Grief she could have learned to live with. But this endless mystery had kept the wound fresh. Lily got accepted to a college 3 hours away. It was a good school, and they'd offered her a partial scholarship. She could work to cover the rest. She was excited but also terrified of leaving her mother alone. "I'll be fine," Jennifer insisted. "You need to go. You need to live your life. Will you promise me something?" Lily asked. "What?" "Promise me you'll think about moving on. I don't mean forgetting Dad. I mean finding a way to live with what happened." Jennifer wanted to promise. She really did, but the words stuck in her throat. How could she move on when she still didn't know the truth? Lily came home for fall break during her first semester of college. She'd been gone for 2 months, and in that short time, she'd discovered what it felt like to be normal. To have friends who didn't know about her tragedy. To go to parties and study groups and not be defined by loss. It felt good. Almost too good. So good that the guilt crept in sometimes late at night. When she pulled up to the small beach house, she noticed her mother's car looked worse than before. The paint was fading, and there was rust around the wheel wells. Lily made a mental note to check if Jennifer was keeping up with basic maintenance. Probably not. Inside, the house was clean but felt empty somehow. Like nobody really lived there, just existed there. Her mother's notebooks were stacked on every surface. Tide tables, current maps, weather reports from 11 years ago. The obsession hadn't faded. If anything, it looked worse, Mom. Lily called out, setting her bag down. No answer. She checked the time. 6 in the morning. Of course. Jennifer would be on the beach doing her daily walk. Some things never changed. Lily thought about unpacking, maybe making some breakfast. But instead she found herself pulling on a jacket and walking down to the beach. She couldn't remember the last time she'd joined her mother on one of these walks. Maybe when she was 12, 13, she'd stopped because it hurt too much, watching her mother search for something that would never appear. The October morning was cold and gray, the kind of morning where the sky and the ocean are the same color, and you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Lily walked along the familiar path, her feet remembering the way even though her mind had tried to forget. She spotted her mother in the distance, a small figure against the vast expanse of water. Jennifer was bent over examining something on the sand. Lily watched her straighten up, take a photo with her phone, make a note in her ever-present notebook, then move on. "Mom," Lily called out when she got closer. Jennifer turned, surprise crossing her face. "Lily, I didn't know you were coming home today. I thought it was tomorrow." "It was today, Mom. I texted you 3 times this week." "Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I must have missed those." Jennifer walked over and hugged her daughter. She smelled like salt water and wind. "It's so good to see you. How's school?" "School's good. Really good, actually." Lily hesitated, then decided to just say it. "I was thinking maybe I could walk with you this morning. Like old times." Jennifer's face lit up in a way Lily hadn't seen in years. "Really? That would be wonderful." They walked together in silence for a while, the only sound being the waves and the occasional cry of a seagull. Lily had forgotten how peaceful it was out here in the early morning, before the world woke up. She'd spent so many years resenting these walks, resenting her mother's obsession, that she'd forgotten there was beauty here too. "So what are you looking for today?" Lily asked, trying to keep her tone light, non-judgmental. "Same thing as always. Anything unusual? Anything that might tell us more about what happened?" "Mom, it's been 11 years. "I know how long it's been, Lily." They walked a bit further. Lily wanted to change the subject, to tell her mother about her classes, about the friends she'd made, about the cute guy in her English literature course. But something stopped her. Maybe it was being back here, in this place where time seemed to have stopped. Maybe it was seeing her mother looking older and more fragile than Lily remembered. "Do you want to get breakfast after this?" Lily asked. "My treat. We could go to that pancake place you used to take me to." "Sure, honey. That sounds nice." They continued walking, and Lily found herself actually looking at the beach now, not just trudging along. She noticed the way the morning light hit the water, the patterns in the sand, the small treasures the tide had left behind. Shells and sea glass and pieces of driftwood worn smooth by years of tumbling in the waves. That's when she saw it. At first, she thought it was just another piece of trash. The beach was always littered with plastic bottles and fishing line and all the garbage that humans threw into the ocean. But there was something about the color that caught her eye. Bright orange, faded by sun and salt, wedged between 2 large rocks near the tide pools. "Mom, wait," Lily said, walking toward the rocks. She'd climbed on these rocks 1,000 times as a kid. She knew every barnacle-covered surface, every little pool where crabs hid during low tide. The orange thing was stuck pretty deep between 2 boulders. She had to crouch down and reach into the gap to get it. It was heavier than she expected. As she pulled it free, her heart started beating faster. It was a case. A waterproof camera case, the kind professional photographers used when they went out on boats or shot near the water. "Mom," Lily said again, her voice shaking now. "Mom, come here." Jennifer turned around and walked back. When she saw what Lily was holding, her face went completely white. She reached out with trembling hands, and Lily passed the case to her. The orange plastic was cracked and covered in algae. The straps were long gone, but printed on the side, still visible after all these years, was a brand name. The same brand Michael had used. "Oh my God," Jennifer whispered. "Oh my God, is it his?" Lily asked, even though she already knew the answer. Jennifer's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the case. She sat down right there on the wet sand, clutching it to her chest. Tears were streaming down her face, but she was laughing too. A strange, broken sound that was half joy, half disbelief. "Open it," Lily said, kneeling beside her mother. "Let's see if there's anything inside." The latches were stuck, corroded by years of salt water. They had to work together, prying at them with a rock, their fingers slipping on the wet plastic. Finally, with a crack that sounded too loud in the quiet morning, the case opened. Inside, cushioned by the protective foam, was Michael's camera. Lily's breath caught. The camera body was covered in sediment and barnacles, but it was intact. Waterproof cases were designed to protect equipment in extreme conditions, but 11 years underwater? It seemed impossible. "The memory card," Jennifer said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Check if the memory card is still in there." With careful fingers, Lily opened the small compartment on the side of the camera. And there it was. A tiny rectangle of plastic and metal, corroded and discolored, but still there. "We need to take this to someone," Lily said. "Someone who knows about data recovery. There might be something on here, Mom. There might be photos from that day." Jennifer nodded, unable to speak. She carefully placed the camera back in its case, closed it, and held it against her heart. They sat there on the beach as the sun rose higher, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, the same beautiful colors that Michael had loved to photograph, the same sky that had been so perfect on that terrible morning 11 years ago. "I knew," Jennifer finally said, her voice thick with emotion. "I knew the ocean would give something back. I just knew it." Lily put her arm around her mother's shoulders. For the first time in years, she understood. This wasn't madness. This wasn't an obsession that made no sense. This was a mother's instinct, a wife's faith, a certainty that lived deeper than logic could reach. "Let's go home," Lily said gently. "Let's figure out our next step." They walked back along the beach, the case held carefully between them. The ocean continued its eternal rhythm beside them, keeping its secrets and occasionally, just occasionally, giving them back. Jennifer held the camera case in her lap during the entire 3-hour drive to the city. She wouldn't let it go. Not even when they stopped for gas. Not even when Lily suggested they grab something to eat. Her hand stayed wrapped around it like it might disappear if she loosened her grip. Lily drove carefully, glancing at her mother every few minutes. Jennifer stared straight ahead, her lips moving slightly like she was having a conversation with someone who wasn't there. Maybe she was praying. Maybe she was talking to Michael. Lily didn't ask. They'd found the data recovery specialist online. His shop was in a rundown strip mall between a laundromat and a tax preparation office. The sign in the window said, "Tech Rescue, we recover what others can't." It didn't look like much, but the reviews were good. People said this guy was a miracle worker. The bell above the door chimed when they walked in. The shop smelled like coffee and electronics. A young man looked up from behind the counter. He had kind eyes and wore a t-shirt with some computer joke on it that Lily didn't understand. "Can I help you?" he asked. Jennifer stepped forward and carefully placed the camera case on the counter. Her hands were still shaking. "This camera has been underwater for 11 years. My husband's camera. He drowned and we just found this yesterday. I need to know if there's any way to recover what's on the memory card." The young man's expression shifted from casual friendliness to serious attention. He opened the case and examined the camera carefully. Turning it over in his hands, he let out a low whistle. 11 years underwater? That's incredible. These waterproof cases are good, but this is really something. He looked up at Jennifer and his voice became gentler. "I'm Kevin, by the way. I'm really sorry about your husband. I'll do everything I can to help. Can you recover the photos?" Jennifer asked. Her voice was barely steady. Kevin carefully removed the memory card from the camera. It was green with corrosion. The metal contacts almost completely oxidized. He held it up to the light, examining it from different angles. "I'm not going to lie to you. This is going to be difficult. Maybe impossible. The corrosion is pretty severe." He paused, seeing the hope drain from Jennifer's face. "But I've seen worse. I've recovered data from cards that were in house fires, cards that got run through washing machines. Water damage is tricky, but it's not always fatal." "How long will it take?" Lily asked. "At least 2 weeks? Maybe longer. I'll need to clean the contacts first, very carefully. Then I'll need to try different techniques to read whatever data is still there. Some of the files might be corrupted. Some might be completely gone. But I'll try everything I know." Jennifer nodded. "Cost doesn't matter. Whatever it takes." Kevin wrote up a receipt and gave them a copy. "I'll call you as soon as I know anything. Even if it's bad news. I promise I'll give this my full attention." The drive back to Coral Bay felt longer than the drive there. Jennifer was quieter now, the initial adrenaline wearing off. Reality was setting in. They might get nothing. The memory card might be completely dead. Those 11 years underwater might have destroyed everything. "Mom," Lily said carefully, "we need to prepare ourselves. Kevin said it might not work. I know. I just don't want you to get your hopes too high. Jennifer turned to look at her daughter. Lily, my hopes have been high for 11 years. This is just one more thing to hope for. The 2 weeks that followed were the longest of Jennifer's life. She tried to go about her normal routine. The beach walks. The notebooks. But everything felt different now. She couldn't focus. Every time her phone rang, her heart jumped. Lily had to go back to college after the weekend, but she called every day. Any word yet? She'd ask. And every day Jennifer had to say no. On day 13, Jennifer's phone rang while she was making lunch. Unknown number from the city. Her hands went numb. Hello? Mrs. Patterson? This is Kevin from Tech Rescue. Jennifer sat down quickly. Her legs wouldn't hold her. Yes, I've got news. Can you come to the shop? I think you'll want to see this in person. Is it good news or bad news? There was a pause. It's complicated. But yes, I recovered data. Quite a bit of it, actually. Jennifer called Lily immediately. He recovered something. I'm driving up there now. Mom, wait. Let me leave campus. I'll meet you there. No, you have classes. I can do this, Mom, please. Don't go alone. Wait for me. But Jennifer couldn't wait. She got in her car and drove. The 3 hours felt like 3 days. Her mind raced through possibilities. What would be on those photos? The last moments of that morning? The wave? What if the images were too painful to see? When she arrived at the shop, Kevin was waiting for her. He led her to a back room where he had a large computer monitor set up. Before I show you, he said gently, I need to prepare you. I recovered about 40% of the files. Some are just fragments. Some are completely corrupted. But there are several dozen that are intact enough to view. Show me, Jennifer said. Kevin pulled up the first image. It was the sunrise. That beautiful sunrise from 11 years ago. The sky was painted in colors so vivid they almost hurt to look at. The water was calm and glittering. It was exactly the kind of shot Michael loved to take. He was a talented photographer, Kevin said softly. Jennifer couldn't speak. She just nodded. Kevin clicked through more images. Each one showed the morning in its peaceful perfection. The way the light played on the water, the silhouette of the distant shore. Michael had captured the beauty of that day right before everything went wrong. Then the images changed. Kevin hesitated before clicking to the next one. This is where things get difficult. You can tell me if you need to stop. No, keep going. The next photo showed the wave. You could see it in the distance, this massive wall of water rising up from the ocean. It looked unreal, like something from a disaster movie. But it was real. It had been real. The following images showed the wave getting closer. The camera angle shifting. Then chaos. The sky spinning. Water. Everything turning dark and murky. The camera was still recording when it went underwater, Kevin explained. It was probably on continuous shooting mode. The underwater shots were blurry and green. But there was something there. A shape, movement. Is that him? Jennifer whispered. Is that Michael? Kevin nodded. I think so. You can see someone swimming, moving toward the surface. Jennifer leaned closer to the screen. In the murky underwater footage, you could make out a figure, arms and legs moving, fighting upward. The timestamp on the image showed it was taken 7 minutes after the wave hit. He survived the initial impact, Jennifer said, her voice breaking. He was alive. More images. More murky water. Then lighter water, like the camera was getting closer to the surface. The timestamp showed 15 minutes. 20 minutes. 30 minutes. He held on for at least half an hour, Kevin said quietly. Maybe longer. Jennifer's tears came then, hot and fast. All these years she'd wondered if he'd suffered. If it had been quick. Now she knew he'd fought. He'd tried so hard to come back to them. There are more images, Kevin said. Do you want to see them? Jennifer wiped her eyes and nodded. She needed to see everything. She needed to know the whole truth no matter how much it hurt. Kevin clicked to the next photo and Jennifer gasped. The image was lighter now, showing the surface of the water. And there, barely visible in the frame, was something that made her heart stop. A boat. In the distance, but definitely there. One of the search boats that had been looking for him. Jennifer stared at the image on the screen. The rescue boat was there in the distance, maybe half a mile away. Close enough to see. Close enough that if they'd known where to look, if they'd searched just a little bit more to the east, they might have found him. They were so close, she whispered. So close. Kevin didn't say anything. What could he say? He just let her sit there, processing this impossible truth. Jennifer felt something break inside her chest. Not her heart. That had broken 11 years ago. This was something else. Some last piece of hope she hadn't known she was still carrying. The hope that maybe it had been quick. That maybe he hadn't suffered. That maybe there was nothing anyone could have done. But now she knew. He'd survived. He'd fought. He'd held on for at least half an hour, maybe longer, waiting for someone to find him. And they'd been right there. Right there. Are there more photos? She asked, her voice hollow. Kevin nodded slowly. A few more. But Jennifer, I need to warn you. The last images are difficult. Show me everything. He clicked through several more frames. The water, the sky. Blurry shots that showed nothing clear. The camera had been floating by this point, drifting with the current, automatically taking photos every few seconds. Then came an image that made Jennifer lean closer. The sky was visible, that same beautiful sunrise sky, and in the corner of the frame, barely visible, was something else. Not the rescue boat this time. Something in the water. An arm? A hand? I think the camera was near him when it took this, Kevin said quietly. They were floating in the same area. The next few images were too blurry to make out. Water and sky mixing together, light and shadow. Then one final clear image. The sun was higher now. The sky was fully light. The camera must have been floating on its back because it captured the clouds, white and peaceful against the blue. That's the last recoverable image, Kevin said. The timestamp shows it was taken about 50 minutes after the wave hit. After that, the battery must have died, or the camera finally sank deep enough that the pressure damaged it. Jennifer sat in silence, staring at that final image. The peaceful sky. The morning continuing on like nothing terrible had happened at all. Can I get copies of these? She finally asked. Of course, I'll put them all on a USB drive for you. I'm so sorry, Jennifer. I know this wasn't the closure you were hoping for, but that's where Kevin was wrong. It was closure. Just not the kind Jennifer had imagined. For 11 years, she'd lived with questions that had no answers. Where did he go? How did he die? Did he think of them at the end? Now she knew. He'd fought to come back to them. He'd survived long enough that he should have been found. He'd seen that same beautiful sunrise he'd been photographing, and somewhere in those final moments he'd been thinking of them. She knew he had been. Jennifer called Lily from the parking lot. Her daughter answered on the first ring. Mom, what did you find out? Jennifer told her everything. About the photos, about the wave, about Michael fighting to survive, about the rescue boat that had been so close. When she finished, there was silence on the other end of the line. Lily, I'm here. Lily's voice was thick with tears. I don't know what to say, Mom. I don't know if this makes things better or worse. I don't either, Jennifer admitted. But at least we know now. At least we have the truth. The story made the local news first, then the regional news. Camera returns after 11 years at sea. Scientists and oceanographers were interviewed about the currents, about the probability of something surviving underwater, that long and returning to almost the exact spot where it had entered the water. People in Coral Bay, who had called Jennifer crazy, started to see her differently. She hadn't been obsessed. She'd been right. The ocean did have patterns. Things that went in could come out. You just had to know where to look, and you had to be patient enough to wait. But Jennifer didn't care about being vindicated. She didn't care about the news coverage or the scientists studying current patterns. She cared about the photos. She had them printed, the good ones from that morning. The sunrise shots that showed Michael's talent and his love for the ocean's beauty. She put them in an album and showed them to Lily when her daughter came home for Thanksgiving. He was so good, Lily said. Looking at the images, I forgot how good he was. I didn't want you to forget, Jennifer said. That's part of why I stayed here all these years. Not just to find answers, but to keep him alive somehow. To not let him just disappear. Lily looked at her mother. Really looked at her. For the first time, she saw not just the obsession, not just the woman who'd chosen grief over moving forward. She saw someone who'd loved so deeply that losing that love had broken something fundamental inside her. What happens now? Lily asked. Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. I think it's time to let go. They planned it for Michael's birthday, which would have been his 50th. Jennifer had kept his ashes in an urn on the mantel for 11 years. She'd never been able to scatter them because it felt too final, like giving up. But she was ready now. On a cold December morning, Jennifer and Lily walked down to the beach together. They were both dressed warmly, scarves wrapped around their necks against the wind. Jennifer carried the urn and Lily carried flowers. They stood at the spot where the camera had been found, where the ocean had given back its secret after all these years. "Should we say something?" Lily asked. Jennifer nodded. "Michael, I'm sorry it took me so long. I'm sorry I held on when I should have let go. But I needed to know. I needed to understand. And now I do." She opened the urn. Lily put her hand on her mother's shoulder. "You fought so hard to come back to us," Jennifer continued, her voice breaking. "You did everything you could. It wasn't your fault. It was just the ocean being the ocean, wild and beautiful and cruel." Together they scattered the ashes into the surf. The morning sun caught them, making them sparkle like diamonds before the waves carried them away. Lily threw her flowers into the water and they watched them drift out on the current. "Do you think he knew how much we loved him?" Lily asked. "Yes," Jennifer said without hesitation. "I think he knew. And I think he knew we'd be okay eventually." They stood there for a while watching the ocean. It looked peaceful that morning, the waves gentle and rhythmic. It was hard to imagine it had the power to destroy, but that was the thing about the ocean. It gave and it took. It was beautiful and dangerous. It kept secrets and sometimes, if you waited long enough, it gave them back. "Are you ready to go home?" Lily asked. Jennifer took a deep breath. The word home felt different now. Not the beach house she'd been haunting for 11 years. Not the place where time had stopped. But wherever she and Lily were together, building a future instead of mourning the past. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready." They walked back along the beach, not searching for anything, just walking. The sun rose higher, warming the sand beneath their feet. Behind them, the ocean continued its eternal rhythm, waves rolling in and out, carrying away what was lost and sometimes, when the time was right, bringing back what was needed most. Jennifer stopped one last time and turned to face the water. "Thank you," she whispered. She wasn't sure who or what she was thanking. Maybe the ocean itself, maybe the universe, maybe just the passage of time that had finally brought her to this moment of peace. Lily took her mother's hand, and together they walked toward the parking lot, toward the car, toward whatever came next. The ocean had taken everything from them once, but it had given something back too. Not Michael. That was impossible. But the truth, the closure, the permission to finally, after all these years, say goodbye and mean it. And sometimes that was enough.